Why, hello there, internets. Alright, guys, Aries here, and today we're doing something a little special. We're going to start a bi-weekly podcast. So today I'm joined by two very special guests. I got Scruff McGruff, a.k.a. Dirk McGurk, here.
What's going down?
And then I also got my lifelong friend here, Mr. Burba, a.k.a. Jub Jub, a.k.a. Mr. Faye.
Hi.
God damn it, Burba. Jesus.
Failure.
Fail on so many levels.
What?
It's bad that he doesn't even realize.
Yeah, you're pretty bad, Burba.
But it's
bad.
Burba bad.
Burba bad.
Alright, doesn't matter. We're going to go with it anyways. So, in this podcast, we're going to keep it pretty gaming related. So, this week's conversation, I want to kind of circle around Nintendo. I don't know if everybody else has felt this or not, but I think Nintendo is moving towards being the next Sega of the gaming industry. And that's kind of sad for me to say, because I grew up loving Nintendo. I think most gamers did. Some of the first games that most people in my generation played were Nintendo games. I'm just not sure that they have a good marketing strategy moving forward.
Well, I totally agree with that. The demographic that they've been pulling for years and years hasn't been generationally. And when I say generationally, you're talking about it when we enjoyed Nintendo, we were youths. We were young kids. They had a great way where they started. Now, with that being said, they did make complicated games with that 8-bit, NES. But as time goes on, they're not going with broadening their perspectives on demographics. Now, they did try with Call of Duty on the Wii, but with a few, titles, I'm not taking away from that, even with Resident Evil, but that's as far as it goes with the whole 3DS. There's not that much product to reach the older age demographic, which they need to.
Right. Burba, what's your thoughts on the demographic that Nintendo appeals to?
Well, I don't know if it's that likely they're going to become the next Sega. I mean, you think Nintendo, their system's going to fail, and they're going to all quit and retire, but then somebody's going to try and make a Mario game because they'll buy the IP from them, and then they'll suck at making Mario games, and they'll go back, they'll hire Nintendo to make Mario games, and then Nintendo will make so many Mario games that they don't want to make Mario games anymore, but they need the money. So they keep making Mario games, but they'll just get weirder and weirder and less like Mario games until Mario is the new Sonic? That's what you think?
No, what I think is that Nintendo's heading down a path of low console sales, and they just keep they keep missing their mark. So, Nintendo, for me, was the console to beat when we were a kid. Now, there's some people that were Sega fans and some people that were Nintendo fans, but I feel like Nintendo won out the console wars every year during both the 8-bit, 16-bit eras. I mean, the regular Nintendo and the Super Nintendo were the consoles to beat and have as a kid, at least in the United States. Sega was trying their hand at continuing to compete. However, they died off and became a game developer. I feel like that's where Nintendo's future is. Now, granted, as Scruff said, they do have a good portable market, but if I'm not mistaken, Nintendo just released in a press release that they're beginning development on mobile titles. I think they're eventually going to be a mobile game developer as well as a third-party developer for Sony and Microsoft. Sony and Microsoft have the systems sold in the homes to push Mario games in a much broader audience than Nintendo ever will again.
No, absolutely. I mean, when the big war of how Nintendo went down, it was right when GameCube and PlayStation, just as much as Dreamcast came out. I mean, there was a whole war, CD, compact, getting out of the cartridge era of gaming, going into the next generation of visual effects and saves, memory cards and all that stuff. Now, what was lacking, I give credit to Nintendo coming out with the mini disc, for GameCube, less scratching and all that, and once again, still good titles, but PlayStation just trumped them on that. And what was the killer was PlayStation 2. Then you got, Sega getting bought out. Didn't they get bought out by Microsoft or something like that?
No, I believe Sega. I don't know. I don't remember exactly how that went down. I know the Dreamcast died, and Sega chose to focus their resources on game
Software.
development. Right. Yeah. And I know most of their games have premiered on a Microsoft product. I don't know that Microsoft owns them or if that's just the exclusive deal that they had. And that came at a time when Microsoft was leading the 7th generation of consoles. Like, when the Xbox 360 was king, Sega took that as their opportunity to push in more markets. And that's what I think is going to happen with Nintendo. I think they're going to realize that, and I don't have the figures in front of me, but let's say the Wii U has been sold to 5 million people. I think the PS4 has hit 40 million in sales. You're going to hit a bigger demographic. Would you rather have the potential for 5 million customers to buy your Super Mario Galaxy 3? Or would you rather have 40 million opportunities to sell that title? They're going to make more money on the production and sale of games than they will on trying to push their, frankly, unimpressive consoles.
Okay, yeah, but the ones in charge of Nintendo are old, out-of-touch Japs. It's going to be a while before anybody with that kind of smarts gets in charge.
So what you're saying is as long as Reggie's around, they're going to keep pushing out out-of-date consoles.
Is Reggie in charge?
No, Reggie's not in charge, but he's very easy to blame for all of Nintendo's problems, for sure.
I was going to say, I didn't think he was in charge. That would be weird. But no, not necessarily as long as he's around, but as long as whoever it is that's calling the shots is around. I forgot their name, but it's an old Asian guy.
No, you can't just blame it on, yes, that could take into consideration of age of the people who are running the company, but you also have shareholders and new developers that come into Nintendo gradually, much with different ideas. What I'm thinking is the core values behind Nintendo that's really leading them into this path already, making affordable systems for, like I said, a demographic, still making Mario's goes towards the younger crowd, but what would really help Nintendo, and I've always said this for the last years, is doing different productions. The gaming mobile itself was phenomenal. You didn't need glasses for the 3D. It's easy on the eyes. Now, if they incorporated that, a lot of their technologies and outsource, resources as money, is because they're rich, and make different products using the Nintendo name, even as a television or compact disc, even back in the day, or anything to broaden their perspectives, that I think would have boosted up, going through generationally and keeping with technology. Because let's be honest, the Wii Connect, whatever it's called, the U Connect, is basically just the Wii and with a different skin and a little bit more tech savvy with the screen in between.
Yeah, I don't know that the Wii U was what the gamers were asking for at the time. I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but when I first played the Wii, I was really caught up in the hype of, oh, hey, something totally different, right? Still have a controller, but, oh, cool. That first day, everybody plays Wii Sports, right? The first day, everybody plays Wii Sports.
No, the Wii Bowling was great.
Right. And then it quickly loses its draw when you realize, wow, this is not really for me.
Yeah, it's
and then you
get really drunk and throw the controller screen through your TV. That's one thing Nintendo got right, how to destroy TVs. Expensive ones.
Oh, yeah. But it wasn't the console that we wanted. I mean, I give them credit. They're always trying to innovate. However, I feel like they do no market research. Like, whose decision was it?
I disagree.
You think they do a lot of market research?
No, I think they do some. And I think that there was a market for the Wii when it originally launched. And I think they would have done even better than they did if there had been any goddamn rail shooters on their stupid system. And that's exactly the problem with the Wii U. It's perfect for something like Pokemon Snap or a camera game or something like that, and they have no fucking games like that on their system. So they have this system perfectly tailored to do a thing, and they don't have any fucking software for it.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like the IPs that they do own. So let me run down a few of the big ones. So they have, like, we've seen, Mario, Zelda, Donkey Kong, things like that. And maybe I'm alone here, but I'm getting kind of tired of those same old IPs. But I understand that there is a following for them. And I was also first in line to buy the Mario Kart 8 and the new Super Smash Brothers. And like, I love those games. But I feel like if you're going to ride those IPs, you're going to run into trouble. You need to open up twofold. Developers need to want to develop for their console. And they need to want third-party developers to develop games for their console. Because, yes, it's true. They're the only place in town where I can get my Mario fix. But they're not the only place in town that I can get my platforming fix.
Yeah, but Mario Maker is great, and Splatoon was great. So it's not like they're out of ideas to do with the IPs that they do have, and yeah, Splatoon is a new IP, so that's kind of a bad example here, but they can come up with new shit too. But Mario Maker is an example of what they could do with Mario that's new and people would like.
Well, I think they could do a lot more with Mario and these IPs, It's because, like I said, they're getting really cartoonish. And if they took it, I mean, look at the graphic war on it. They're not up to par with even the Xbox One, up in the graphics. I really think Nintendo should make two kind of games. Make the adult Mario, where you can hack and slash through all the bad guys to get into that, graphic, because that's the American way. That's how civilization, humankind is. We want to destroy things. We want to do things in video games that we can't do outside our doors of our home. Grand Theft Auto, Battlefield. When are you going to get dropped in the war and say, hey, I got 1 million lives, I can do whatever I want? You don't really get that. So I think, with Nintendo, they should outreach to these third parties, selling some titles and getting some graphic games. I'm talking about some graphic games like their competitors are. If they're going to try to reach these people and keep continuing to sell their product, they have to get in line of adults, because that's who are buying it. Yes, we buy it for our kids, but primarily we like to buy things we like to use.
Hold on. But you're right. Adults do like buying things for themselves, but that's not where the thoughtless money is. The thoughtless money is with selling to little Timmy, because little Timmy doesn't have any idea how much $1 is worth. And he might think a $60 game is worth $60. As soon as you start selling to adults for adults, they're going to go, well, is this game worth every dollar I just spent on it? And all of a sudden, $60 has to do a lot more.
Right, so I agree. Little Timmy is going to be the one that's encouraging his parents to buy the title, right? So little Timmy is going to see Mario and, oh, I want the new Mario Kart. I want the new whatever, right? And little Timmy is going to encourage his parents to buy it. But is that as much of a market as the adult, the mid-range gamer? Let's say the demographic of like 15 to 35.
Well, I don't know. Me and my brothers quit buying console games, period, because we saw the quality go down, so we quit giving them money, full stop. That's not most people, though.
Right, but I don't know that Nintendo is putting out anything worthwhile short of...
No, not at all. Because when you go into GameStop, you really don't go into the Wii section unless you do have a child. I got the 3DS just out of curiosity. If something finally did get produced where it could, I could play, entertainingly, and it's just not really at all. You're lucky you get one a month or 2 a month, and that game is kind of just like something you would see at 3 to 10. If you're lucky that high up of a number. It would have been good if they took Metroid Prime, put it online, PvP, with the story, co-op, kind of like a Call of Duty Modern Warfare, just to put that into that demographic, take their games and expand the horizon of it instead of just putting a new skin on it with the same concept. I
think I don't even know that I like their IPs anymore. I kind of want to see new stuff. I agree with your earlier comment, Burba. Splatoon was good, and it was at least something new, right? It wasn't Mario and Bowser and all of these well-known characters like Link. It was something brand new. But is it enough? And is it too late in the game for them? I mean, Sony really doesn't have a mascot. I mean, they have some exclusive titles like Uncharted, and God of War back in the day. I don't know that they're going to do another one, but is riding your mascots enough for a company? I mean, let's face facts. In my opinion, what Nintendo lacks is some big things. Number one, they don't cater to, like myself, a content creator. They don't cater to a online video marketplace without, hey, you got to join our brand. You got to give us a cut. You can't do a review on a Nintendo product unless you're giving us a cut. The other thing is they don't cater to the demographic of online multiplayer. That's key nowadays. That is so key. And they just their software and their hardware, it just doesn't function as well as a PlayStation or an Xbox, or even a PC for that matter.
I think you're right. But it's more of a problem than you're saying, though. Most of their games, they don't do the whole Call of Duty thing, and they need a Call of Duty thing, right? They need, like, Splatoon was the first time that I know of that they've really touched on it. You need to have good competitive multiplayer. You can't just have this shit that they have. I can't put a good word on it, but like single player, co-op, party games. You gotta have a good competitive multiplayer to compete with Microsoft and Sony.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that if you can use the mascot, use your strengths in that kind of that category, because that's where PlayStation and Microsoft is making this Call of Duty, Battlefields, Hardline, Battlefront, and all these type of first-person shooters, because that's more prone of online gaming is shooters. That's prime time, and if they want to write out the mascot, Metroid, that'd be like a Halo. That'd be a good competitor against Sony and Microsoft using your mascot, because you own the rights to that. And you get that futuristic.
Or even like, I guess, not to side bridge here, but even the MOBA games are pretty popular nowadays. What if they took like a Nintendo MOBA style game? I realize that maybe that doesn't cater to your market, Burba, but that's a popular series, something that you can get behind.
Kind of like Blizzard.
Exactly. Blizzard jumped on that bandwagon because they've seen the relevance in today's marketplace for that. But that's still not even covering the main point of the issue is Nintendo does not focus on that online multiplayer experience the same way that Microsoft and Sony do, or PC for that matter. Yeah, they have a way of connecting with your friends and doing all that, but it's not even... even if you connect with them, you have a hard way of communicating. It's not like you have headsets and microphones and things that you can do to communicate with your friends, have party chats and things like that. I feel like they're like a Captain Tryhard. They try really hard to want to be like the big boys, but they're always stuck playing in the sandbox.
Well, they're not playing dirty. They need to play dirty. That's what they need to do. They need to go some World War II kamikaze attacking this market. They need to look at what success Sony and Microsoft's doing, just like how Microsoft and Sony's been playing at each other, stealing each other's ideas secretly. Come on, let's cut the BS. They learn from each other, and they try to outbid each other on those concepts that they could see. It's kind of reverse engineering. Once it hits the market, they get whiffed back and forth of what they're putting in their consoles. Everybody leaks with a certain price. Let's cut the BS on that one. And they need to, if they want to play with the big boys, they need to act like a man, pull up their pants, and go out and kick some ass. And play dirty. Read those articles. You spy. Spy on your competitors.
I don't think that they...
It's late in the game.
No, I just don't think that they want to... I don't know. I sometimes I feel like they don't want to be... I think they're scared of their own success. I think they don't want to be as big as they could be. Or maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe they're just retarded. Because they could... I don't even know. I feel like they're murdering themselves. I feel like every day they're committing corporate suicide.
They have another choice. They don't have to compete with the big boys. They could do what they did with the Wii, and they could play a different game. You know, they could have what they don't. They could just do what Xbox and PlayStation aren't doing. Like that kind of stuff, but just what they're not doing. They don't have to do Call of Duty. They don't have to do any of the stuff that most people want. They just have to do a lot of stuff that isn't there. Like nobody does couch co-op anymore. They could do that kind of stuff. And there's other things. That's like the one thing I can think of that the others aren't doing. But the others aren't doing a lot of platforming games either. And I think that's what Nintendo's current strategy is oh, we'll just do things that nobody else is doing, and then we're the only game in town.
Is it that they're doing that? Well, is it enough? Is it enough to carry them through? If I'm not mistaken, and yet again, I don't have the facts in front of me, but I don't believe they ever went into the black on the Wii. I think that they lost money on that console between development and distribution. So is it enough? And I know they're not in the black yet on the Wii U. So if they're hemorrhaging money, what is the... And they're hemorrhaging money while sitting on a golden goose. They could easily and very specifically license out their IPs to other creators and make a fortune. They choose to hold on to those IPs like it's the last fruit cup in a kid's lunchbox, when they don't realize that they could have all of the fruit cups if they would just play the business strategy properly. But they don't know how to play the game. And it's sad because they're one of the inventors of it.
I suppose, but the Wii, last I knew, was a runaway success. They were well within the black on that. The Wii U is a disaster.
Yeah. I swear the Wii was they never turned a profit on it towards the end. But, I mean, I could be wrong. Like I said, I don't have the facts in front of me. However, they're definitely not outselling their competitors. They're not even coming to a fraction of selling to their competitors' level. I mean, I'm sure there's 10 times as many PS4s have been sold as a Wii U. And the Wii U's been out 2 years longer. It's just bad. It's bad.
Yeah. Well, they got no innovation. You know, all their wow factors.
It is. I do think that if they had competitive hardware and they kept doing what they're doing, even if they didn't have the third-party support and whatever. I mean, if they had competitive hardware, I feel like they would have third-party support. I don't think that their gimmicks are what's keeping them out. I think it's that their system is so much weaker. Although the gimmicks aren't helping. I mean, that's not good, because especially that stupid freaking gamepad. Oh my god, that's terrible. But they could, if they had similar hardware, they would have different stuff, and then you would end up in a beautiful situation they want to be in, is everybody owns an Xbox or a Sony PlayStation, and they own a Nintendo.
Right. But you notice, even in how you've discussed it, it's a Sony or an Xbox and a Nintendo. It's not like, hey, I got 3 consoles to choose from. Damn, I want that Wii U first. Like, Nintendo's about to announce the Nintendo NX here at E3 in 2016. And, like, I'm not even really that excited, because I already feel like it's going to disappoint, because the last 2 consoles have disappointed. So the hype for me is not even real, because I doubt that they're going to even compete with the 2 other consoles I have on my shelf right now. So why, if you're Nintendo, why should I be interested in your product?
I don't know why you'd be interested in their product. I mean, I'm not interested in their product, but it's for a whole different reason.
Well, Joe, what do you think?
Well, the hardware's lacking. The whole wow factor has been, disappointing. And with the Wii U, I mean, the screen on that gigantic controller is not even that great. So what wow factor are they to bring? The PlayStation and Microsoft is basically slamming them, and they're just racing for better processors and graphics, basically. And their third party or even their software is running, for the games, is basically the same. There's not that many exclusives.
Yeah, aren't they running off of 720, if I'm not mistaken? I don't even think that the Wii U is pumping out in 1080.
Exactly. So, what are they really bringing up to the table that's really new and inventive?
Yeah, but to be fair, Microsoft's Xbox One isn't running at 1080 either.
So they're lacking too.
But at least their hardware can compete somewhat with the PS4. I hate to say that because it's not really 100% true, but it's like at least you're bringing a gun. You're bringing a pistol to an assault rifle fight, but at least you have a gun. Nintendo's sitting there trying to stab you with a spatula. Like you're not even playing the same. Blu-ray? No, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
It's
a dildo. Be honest, it's a dildo.
It's a dildo. Yeah, but seriously,
it's a dildo player.
It's not even good. It's not even. The reason I bought it originally was Mario Kart, Super Smash Brothers. Like when I heard the new Super Smash Brothers was announced, I went and bought it. I was ecstatic. But that's it. Like there was a few short IPs. I think the only thing that surprised me for the Wii U was probably Hyrule Warriors. That game was a shock, and a game that I never knew I wanted. But I can't think of anything else surprising for the Wii U's lifespan so far. You got anything, bro?
Nah, not really. Great. Donkey Kong was really great. A Devil's Third. Devil's Third is really good.
Is that made by Nintendo? I'm not familiar with that IP.
You know what? I don't remember. Hold on a sec. It's Nintendo exclusive. It's made by whoever made Ninja Gaiden.
Okay. So, there's small third-party support there. But,
But the 3DS is very... I thought that was very successful as revenue as well. If you're a Zelda fan, having the option of having the old school Ocarina of Time or any,
Majora's Mask.
Exactly. If you're a lover, and then non-having glasses for 3D is just amazing in itself. So they had a great concept there for both parties, and especially going on to the store and getting old school games. Granted, I don't know if you can hack them in and get emulators on them and ROMs, but still a nice feature to have.
Yeah, so that brings me to a current point. That's a good transitional point here. They recently announced on their virtual console store that they're bringing in some really, really big-hitting Super Nintendo titles back from the grave, so to speak, that you can download on your 3DS. Such big hitters as Super Mario World, Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past, Super Metroid. We're talking about some quality. Earthbound is another one. Some quality games. However, they're only available for download on the new 3DS, which I find funny. It's clearly a marketing ploy to get people to either trade in their existing 3DS for the new one or just to go outright and buy a new one. But their press release said something along the lines that the hardware is not capable of running it. We're talking about a 16-bit game here. We're talking about a 16-bit game that I could have run on a jump drive. Right? I doubt that the old 3DS is incapable of running it.
Dude, you play it on those Texas Instrument calculators. They have Mario, and you tell me you can't Wi-Fi me that game in 8-bit, but I can watch HD porn on my cell phone and anywhere I can go or do anything on my cell phone. It's ridiculous. And that was a golden goose on there. They've been waiting for that. That's a great marketing thing, and I've always said that they're going to wait and pull that because the closest thing you got to Super Nintendo games is what came out in the Game Boy. I don't want to play a Game Boy game. There's no color. It's no fun.
Right. And no, the Super Nintendo is great for the Virtual Console. However, the fact that they're pushing it, that it's only available on the Wii U and the new 3DS.
It's junk.
It's shitty business practice. Yet again, there's an example of them having a golden goose. They can sell their IPs. You know, I would have went and bought all 4, 5, 6 games that they are dropping in this first release at $8 a crack, which is what they're charging, $7.99 here in the U.S. And I would have bought all 4 or 5 of them. You know, that would have been an extra $50 of revenue in their pocket. And I know many other people that would, but I'm not going to go out and spend another $200-$300 on a new 3DS just to play something that I already have emulated and ROMs.
Yeah, but I mean, you could buy it on the Wii U, and you could be that sucker that's sitting on your couch playing a 20-year-old game, whatever.
Yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong, there's value in nostalgia, and there's something nice about having a controller in your hand, but yet again, my PC can do all of that. The only reason I would do that through the Wii U is to support Nintendo and you know, in appreciation of the fact that they are recognizing that those games needed to be here in the Virtual Console. However, I feel like it's a little too late for that. They should have had those first and foremost. The Super Nintendo was the most successful console of all time next to the N64 for them. They really should have had those first and foremost in the Virtual Console.
Especially taking the platform that they were using it on, the 3DS, make it 3D. Do something with it out of the ordinary from the original, so you have that nostalgic feeling of old school video game and have the bonus of a 3D. And you know what's cool about the 3D is you can do it inwards and outwards, so you have the options to with your visual, especially with the
That would have been
meter.
amazing. Super Mario World with a slight 3D effect.
No, it'd be great because it's the same thing out in ordinary. But one thing I got to give Nintendo is the price practical on these games. When you go on there, they always have sales on it. $2.99, $4.99, depending on the game. And I can understand that kind of cost for that, you know, a 20-year-old game because, you know, it is Nintendo and it's worth buying.
Right.
If you present
Do you
it.
think, well, I'm going to ask both of you this question. Do you think $7.99 for Super Metroid or the Super Mario World, do you think $7.99 is an appropriate price point? Let's start with Burbo.
I'm not going to pay $7.99 for anything that's 20 years old. Just, I'm not, so no. But I mean, I'm pretty unreasonable there.
All right, Scruff, what do you think? $7.99?
I think Berber's kind of cheap, but
Ooh,
Burber, you're cheap
shots
as hell.
fired, savage as fuck.
Man, it's a classic. Now, if you go and try to get the antique game, like the cartridge and all that, then you're going to pay some, depending on the title, you're going to pay some buku money on that. So paying $7.99 on a downloadable software for that kind of classic game, I don't think it is unreasonable. I think it should be like $4.99, depending on which one.
Well, I am cheap. I'm chintzy as fuck. I'm not gonna spend money on something I could get for free. I mean, I'm not necessarily saying stealing, but I can find Flash games that are more complicated than those old games. And I'm not attached. I don't have nostalgia for old shit. I don't care if it's old, it's a classic. I don't care. I just care about gameplay.
All right, so I just looked it up. You can get, for the original Super Nintendo, you can get a copy of Super Mario World for $30. That is what the lowest price on eBay is currently. $30, $29.99
right?
for the cartridge.
Okay.
But Burba does have a great point. I can download the ROM completely free, and you know, I think a controller, a classic Super Nintendo controller modified with a USB port, is somewhere in the range of $15 to $30. So for the price, I could get a controller and have that nostalgic feeling and download as many Super Nintendo games as I want. However, there is something to be said about supporting a creator of a quality product.
Exactly.
One that it's not like they chose crappy SNES titles to bring back. Like, they chose some top tier stuff. I spent many hours on Super Metroid, Super Mario World,
Mega Man.
I mean, A Link to the Past.
That game
just hours.
Yeah.
So I don't know. $7.99. I think it's fair-ish, but I don't know. I mean, it'd be nice if they did like a buy two get one free kind of special, especially because they're releasing them, just so you guys are aware, in packs of 3. So they're doing, like, I think they just did 2 days ago 3 games, every like 2 to 3 weeks they're doing a set of 3 Super Nintendo games coming out. And I feel like what would have been smarter on their part is to do like a pack, pay $15 and get all 3 for that week instead of $7.99 a piece, where the value is now $24 for all 3. I feel like they had a missed opportunity there, especially because they're releasing them in such limited quantities. So, back to the question at hand. Will Nintendo become the next Sega? I don't know. Time will tell. I'm excited to see E3 this year, to see really what the NX is going to be all about. I'm very, very... I don't think the word's optimistic. I'm very pessimistic, I suppose. Now, that's not even a good fit, but I don't feel a lot of confidence for Nintendo in the future, and I don't think they'll be around long enough for my kids to really understand how great that company once was. I do strongly feel that they are heading down the Sega path, that we will soon see them being a game developer, not a console maker anymore. So let's start with final thoughts here, and we can wrap this one up. Joe, hang on, I'm going to re-say that for the audio. So we'll get to final thoughts here. All right, let's start with Scruff. What's your final thoughts? Do you believe that Nintendo will become Sega 2?
I believe they will. I think they missed their opportunity. Just like how Blockbuster did. I hate to make that analogy back to Blockbuster, but they had a lot of opportunities. They were the forerunners in a lot of technologies and a lot of things they have missed. And it's great that they tried, try to produce wow factors that the other competitors are not doing, but they were the number one competitor and they missed it. Just like Blockbuster, just like with the red boxes, missed it. They could have took their ideas and spread it across a whole spectrum and jump and be a good competitor against Xbox and Microsoft. But I think that if their console right now is not as successful as they think, I think they're just going straight to developing video games and selling the licenses.
All right. Yep. Good points. Burba, final thoughts from you. Do you believe Nintendo is headed for a path of Nintega?
I think that they have one last chance. If that next console is good, well made, and it's competitive, like it can actually compete with the graphics of the other two. Because let's be honest, they're not going to come out with another console for another 4 or 5 years. So, if they can, and then they can get third-party support, I think that'll save them. If that next console flops as hard as the Wii U, I think that they are probably going to be the next set.
Yeah. Only time will tell with all things in both the real world and the virtual one. I want to thank everybody for their time. If you guys like this little podcast setup that we got going on, hit that like and subscribe button below. Let us know in the comments, and we will continue to do more of these. Maybe step them up to a weekly basis instead of a bi-weekly basis. But, as always, I am Aries, joined by Scruff.
Scruff McGruff, a.k.a. Dirt McGirt.
And Mr. Jub himself.
Yep. I feel like that went well.
And we will see you guys on the next podcast. Thank you.